Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome to yet another edition of Sunday FUNDAY, Week 5 edition. Here we are talking all things SEC football. Oh, man, what a weekend. What a Saturday it was. An incredible time from what happened in Tuscaloosa to down the Plains to Oxford, Mississippi. Start the day. We got a ton to discuss, tons to dive into. Really, really excited to, again, be here on this Sunday morning. I'm Chris Phillips. He is Dave Shumate, and he is Cole Thompson. Again, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get those as well. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. We're breaking down all things Week 5, all the madness that took place yesterday. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Dave Shumate. He's Cole Thompson once again. Guys, before we get rolling, I do want to say to our friends across the Southeast, the states of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, etc., we are thinking of you. You are in our thoughts and our prayers. Guys, I'm not sure if you knew this. There's still over, I believe, 1 million people in the state of South Carolina without power, including my parents, who have been without power for the last 72 hours or so. So it's really, really tough. You know, it wasn't lost on me being in the state of Alabama. Kind of got away from it all, that a lot of people back home are struggling. You know, my hometown, North Augusta, I think is okay, but Augusta, Georgia is torn all to hell. And my hat, Beach Mountain, the Appalachians, they are messed up pretty badly, places that I like to go. So again, all those that are watching, if you're located across the Southeast, if you're able to watch us, because again, so many of you without power, we are thinking of you. We are praying for you, and we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers. So anyways, again, I wanted to get that out there. Guys, really excited to chat. I'm still sitting in the great state of Alabama. I know we're going to get to the game in Tuscaloosa. We can start there. But, gentlemen, good morning. It's great to see you. And great job yesterday holding down the fort, by the way. I appreciate y'all.
Good morning, CP. CP, where are you going to get some food at, man?
I don't know. I haven't got that far, to be honest with you. I haven't gotten that far. So little Sunday brunch or something will happen, but I'm sure there's plenty of options. I'm sure you guys have suggestions. So
you'll go to Jim and Nick's, man. It'll be a good Sunday.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Hey, where else is he gonna go?
Well, hold up. Is he in Hoover or is he in?
I'm in Hoover. I'm
that's
not
the
in
problem. Is he in Hoover or
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
He's in Hoover. He's in Birmingham.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How do you not love college football? How in the hell do you not love college football? And I know there are other things in life that are important, like marriages, births of children. Dave and I both have seen one, if not two things happen. But there is nothing like a Saturday night where you realize, just looking at it from an unbiased perspective, what made us fall in love with the game. And case in point, I warned you. I warned you. I warned all of America. I told all of our audience, I don't care that it's September. I don't care that it's Week 5. I don't care that we still have massive implications that are going to disrupt the SEC and the college football playoff in general. We witnessed the game of the year last night, and that is going to be extremely hard to top for so many different reasons, but more importantly, because of just what that atmosphere is, just for what that game is. You have every other day to go ahead and celebrate whatever you want in your life. Go apple picking, go take your kids to the plays, go ahead and make sure that you drop them off at soccer practice, talk to your mom, whatever it is. But Saturdays are made for sickos like us that enjoy what was Week 5 chaos. From Kentucky finding a way to look like the team that we all envisioned in year 3 of Mark Stoops, wash, rinse, repeat, as it always is every 3 seasons. Whether it was what we watched at Jordan-Hare Stadium, where it felt like the life was sucked out of Oklahoma, and lo and behold, number one being the number one reason, the final Southwest Classic out in Arlington. And that's what we saw last night. What a week of college football. What do we love this sport for? There is nothing more like a Saturday night down in the Southeastern Conference.
I want to start, too, guys, by giving you guys your roses really quick, because I was the Lone Ranger who picked the Georgia Bulldogs. I was incorrect. You gentlemen both went with Alabama. You gentlemen are both Alabama alum, for those that don't know and realize. So I want to start off as we talk about this Alabama-Georgia game, just giving you a quick little – this is for you, Cole.
Hey, you got the shaker going with you right
I did.
now.
I got gifted. Again, the Bama folks were great. They gifted me one of these, and I was like, this will be a cool little souvenir for the studio. But, yeah, wanted to do that just for you guys because
You're
again,
not called pom-poms, ladies and gentlemen. If anyone calls them it, you're going to
Who
lose.
the hell calls them pom-poms?
Oh, my
Herb
wife
shakers.
did when she first met me. She was like, "Why do you
Yeah.
have a pom-pom?" I was like, "Oh, this may not work out.
It's like 1985 cheerleaders.
This may not be a relationship that lasts very long if you call it that one more time." That was the way that I had the heart-to-heart with her, that it was called a shaker.
Good to know she learned rather quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah. Again, those shakers were shaking last night, boys. Bryant-Denny Stadium was a madhouse. Like I mentioned, if you haven't seen it, by the way, whenever you're hearing this, whether it's, Sunday morning, afternoon, night, whatever, just posted the video that I got, guys, on the GoPro, and the full vlog will drop this week. But the Ryan Williams touchdown that I can't believe I got that on video. I mean, the roof came off that place. But what a game in totality. I mean, guys, first things first, I was giddy leaving the stadium because the fact that I had the opportunity to sit there and witness that live was just, I mean, that was crazy. That was great. Like, first half, I feel like I'm literally watching Michael Vick as Jalen Milroe is just torching Georgia. Guys, that first quarter, that's probably the best quarter of football I've ever seen from a team. Ever. I've never seen a team more dialed in. It took me back, honestly, to, if you recall, 2012 South Carolina, Georgia. And that was the last time Georgia was down.
Yeah, would they win that game like 31-6?
Oh, yeah. South Carolina finished it off 35-7. They won. That was the last time, guys, Georgia was down 21-0 to anybody. 2012 South Carolina, Georgia. Where that first quarter that South Carolina played was just out of their mind. Best quarter. People still say it's the best quarter of football that program's ever seen. I mean, that quarter of football, and even into the into the first half, Jalen Milroe in his bag, all the things we thought, the reasons he could have success, with his legs, his elusiveness. He was dialed into the passing game. I thought Kalen DeBoer and company had a great plan. I mean, everything Bama could have done right, they did. Ran circles around Georgia in every aspect. Georgia did exactly what you can't do and win on the road in the SEC. Turn the football over, shoot yourself in the foot, make really back-breaking mistakes. And then it was just like the script was flipped going into the second half, which I know we'll talk about it and break it down. I thought there were times Bama just got a little cute. I mean, you give Georgia a lot of credit for making the adjustments. And, again, I think that was Kirby Smart in his bag. Like, that's just what Kirby does. But, it seemed like Bama was playing more in the second half not to lose than to go out and score 50 and make a point. Granted, again, Crimson Tide found a way other way. And I think you give Georgia a lot of credit. And there's no moral victories in a game like this. That's the beauty. But you do have to give Georgia a ton of credit because that game, I mean, it's 30-7 at half, as we all know. That game could have just gone off the rails completely. But tale of two halves, guys. But again, I just really look at it. I look back at Carson Beck, man, that first half. You think, what if, right? Like, what if you don't just make some of these horrific mistakes?
Carson lost in the game, but kept him in it.
Guys, I was in that end zone where they were in their own territory, and the ball, he just telegraphed it. I'm like, I don't know who you're throwing it. There's nobody where you're looking. Telegraphed it right to the DB. So he had some maddening
Which
moments.
one are you talking about? The one on the screen?
No. So the other side of the field where he dropped back, and I think he was trying to hit like a
you're talking the one to Jahad Campbell. That dropped back. Yeah.
Like, again, I'm like literally looking down the line of sight.
Kirby said the one on the screen wasn't him. And
that was a screw up.
The wrong route.
That was a screw up on the route. Yeah, that one. So I was on the other side of the field. The one I'm talking about is the Campbell one where it's just like I'm looking down the line of sight and I'm like, I don't know how you could have.
That was also off what? That was off a Bama turnover.
Yeah, it was like they went like back and forth with turn. It got sloppy there for a minute. It got really sloppy for a minute. But guys, end of day, I mean, I was just like, you're just like laughing watching it, like, and I'm sitting there and I kept thinking, I'm like, okay, they're within 15, like, I've seen crazier things happen, and they score again. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and then obviously they hit that long bomb, and you could have heard a pin drop in that place. You could have heard a pin drop, and then of course we all know what happens. Hollywood saves the day yet again. He's only 17, y'all. He's only 17.
At this point,
I don't know if you know that, but
at this point, just throw it up there with the Hall of Fame quotes alongside Matthew Stafford played baseball with Clayton Kershaw. Like, it's right.
It would be wild if that kid goes and plays in the Senior Bowl at 19 years old.
Dude, Ryan Williams is a freak. Like he is
stupid.
I mean, in person it was incredible, but you go back and watch that catch he made.
His ability to stay in bounds as well. I thought it was a good ball. It was a good ball by Jalen too. He put it the only spot it could be in.
Yeah.
I was more impressed by the way he stayed in bounds.
Yeah, and I listened to Kirby this morning talk about, they played off of Ryan Williams a lot, but that was, press coverage. You thought Malachi Starks did a good job, dude. Just sometimes in a ball game like that, when you got a lead on elite, sometimes you throw the ball up and say, it's our guy versus your guy, and we believe our guy's going to beat your guy. And that's what Georgia did at the end too. I mean, 1-on-1, I like the play call. And you had a freshman in there filling in for Devontae Smith, I think it was. You take a shot at him, and he just won the battle. So, I mean, that was one of the best, probably maybe the best college football game I've ever witnessed in person. I feel blessed to have been there in attendance. And, again, I know there's so many angles we can break this down, but just purely from, like Cole was saying, just the college football fan standpoint, what a night, what a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to, like you said, tell it two halves. I mean, I think Bama won Monday through – they're really not prepping much on Friday, but Monday through Thursday, they won in preparation. I think they saw that Georgia has holes on the interior. They don't have a Jalen Carter. They don't have they don't have the interior beast that they've had on the interior before. And I think Georgia overthought that. I think they're going to try to run at us right down our throats. I think they are. That's why if you go back and watch it, I went back and watched it last night. That's why Bama had so much success on the edge, because Georgia played the tight fronts on the inside. Right? Look, we don't have the disruptors. We don't have the disruptors on the inside. So we assume we're just going to load up and they're going to try to run the football at us. No, Bama got out on the edges. And Georgia looked like they'd never seen someone go in motion before in the line. They all hand palms up defensively to the sideline. You saw Glenn Shumate after the first drive. They threw the kitchen sink at us, guys. They don't have shit else. It was 28-0. Bama's first, you mentioned it, Chris. Bama's first quarter play calling was the best I've ever seen in Alabama offense look in a quarter in my lifetime. That's 1989. So take that as it may. The game's more explosive now. I thought defensively, Bama was bringing 7-8 guys to Carson Beck. And Carson Beck, again, you go back and watch the game, there's good and bad. I think you could have made the case he single-handedly lost him the game, got him back in it, and then at the very end, lost him the game again with the underthrown ball in the end zone. I think if you can bring pressure, the way to get to Carson Beck is if you bring pressure through the A-gap, get him off his platform, he can be bad. You saw it in the safety. He's just throwing it up, just trying to get it out of his hand for Jihad Campbell picked him off.
I will say to his
Kane Wommack probably regrets in the second half. And again, hindsight's 20/20. It's easy to say this. I bet Bama went into that half and was like, how do we want to attack? We're up 37-0. We don't want to give up one big play where we bring pressure, our DB slips, and they score without it. Hey, they want to go have a 12-play, 6-minute drive, so be it. But I guarantee you they did not expect to give up 6 fourth-down conversions. And again, I think that's where people are going to be on Alabama's defense, as they should. They didn't play great in the second half. But Kirby even said it post-game. He's like, we had an extra down to work with the entire second half. He's like, I went into halftime and said, guys, we are going for it every fourth down. So that adds an extra dimension. If you're an Alabama defense, it's like, all right, keep it in fourth and manageable. How many would they have? 4th and 2 and then 4th and 6, I think was the longest Georgia ever had.
They were cooking on 4th down. I mean,
they were penalty. I think if you ask Kane Wommack, he would go back and bring more pressure in the second half. Because, again, Carson Beck got comfortable. Bama only brought 3 to 4 guys. Carson Beck's as good as anybody if you're sitting back there with no pressure. It probably should have brought a little bit more pressure. I understand, though, why you did it. I mean, again, you're getting them in spots where, guys, we need one stop on 4th down. That game's probably not even that close going down there.
Yeah, because even the drive, to your point, Dave, where I think it was this drive where Georgia made it 30-15. I mean, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, they've burned like 6 minutes here. So like, I was like, I like what I'm seeing, but you don't have all this time to play with. So
yeah, I think at some point it's like, well, all right. Like, I think the momentum of this game turned when Bama got the forced turnover. Again, I don't know why Carson Beck didn't throw this ball away. It was a first down that he fumbled after a big 4th down conversion. Yeah. Bama got it, and Bama did not. That was the worst drive they looked all game. Remember on 3rd down, it was a missed snap that Jalen had to like tip and catch it, and they just went down. It's like, man, if Bama could just go get a touchdown there, it's probably that's where the game kind of felt like, where you felt like Georgia's like, they're kind of they're in a funk offensively. And I think the defense for Georgia was settling in. And there's not a better, again, I know this is cliche, but go back and watch every game. There's not a better team in the country that adjusted halftime than the University of Georgia and Kirby Smart. How many times have we seen them not play good in the first half, be down at half to someone they shouldn't? It's just like, oh, they didn't even score and say that. Like South Carolina last year. I think South Carolina was up in that game at half.
Yeah.
Came out, just looked totally different. Bama didn't have any shot to take the edge anymore after that. Georgia took that away. I think overall, though, I mean, you got to take that. That was really the first half breakdown. But second half, I just think the offense just looked uncomfortable with that big of a lead. I don't really think they knew what to do. It was kind of like, but I think the thing it's indefensible is snapping the football with 17 to 20 seconds on the shot.
The people around me were losing their minds, guys.
It
losing their minds.
And you know what I think Georgia noticed, too, in the second half? They're like, I don't think these guys can run on us on the interior. Because when Bama was trying to do that in the second half, I think they were like, yeah, they can't run on the inside on us. So I think Bama out-schemed them throughout the week. Because I think Georgia's sitting there like, they're going to run right at our ass, dude. We're thin. No, got on the edges. Then I think when Bama had to run on the interior, Georgia's like, you can't run on us like we kind of thought. And again, the reason why I picked Bama, before I go to Cole here, Tate Ratledge out for the game. Guess who else was the backup? You know, Georgia was down to their third center in
Bobo's kid.
Drew Bobo, who's not a very good player.
Bobo's kid had to go ahead and snap footballs in the biggest game of the year.
Not a very good player. But you know who's the backup center?
Taylor Ratledge.
Yes. So that's even it's even a bigger reason why to go with Alabama in that game. Jared Wilson goes down. They're playing their third string center instead, where you were to put Ratledge in. And you could tell early in the game, they looked all over. Chris, you could see it on TV. You saw Georgia's offensive linemen just kind of getting onto each other. They're at point, and they're like, where'd he come from? He's at, and one of the guys, forget who it was, Micah Morris, maybe looked over. He's like, I don't know where the F he's fucking come from. I thought he was coming from over there. Like, they were all over. I mean, Carson Beck was seeing ghosts. But no, I thought overall it was the fun cat and mouse game. I bet Georgia was like, I mean, I saw Kirby at the end of the half. He was walking to the locker room. He's like, they've never shown empty before. He's like, they ran stuff in that first half we'd never seen going back to watch any of their stuff. So give Bama credit during the week. It is a little concerning. Like, hey, Kalen, this isn't Coach DeBoer. This isn't the Pac-12, brother. You can't go sit on the 37 lead against Oregon State here. Like, you're facing it against the teams that adjust better than anyone at half. They're going to take away what you want to do. But no, I think tell 2 halves, good for Bama. You get a big win. Probably feel like you're in the playoffs now. If like they take that step in the right direction, I don't see 3 losses there. I think that's what you get out of this game is Bama feels really good about getting to the playoffs. Georgia, obviously tougher road ahead with the road games. We got at Texas, at Ole Miss, and you host Tennessee. But you still some things you can hang your hat on at the very end. Got off the mat like Rocky Balboa, man, and Rocky 3.
Dave, before I let you go, Cole, to your point, Dave, not that I wasn't in the stadium, obviously singing "Glory, Glory," but I did pick Georgia when they went up late. I was like, "Oh, I'm about to look like a genius if they hold on." I was, that was insane. And then, just in a second, to your point about Kalen DeBoer sitting on it, the guy sitting next to me said, and I quote, "They're going to run his ass out of town if they find a way to lose."
Can you imagine if he had lost that?
Jesus. That's what he said. So, I mean, it was wild. Anyways, Cole, go ahead, my friend.
How they looked in that first half is what a Heisman performance looks like. I'm tired of hearing about how we have to talk about what did Cam Ward do? What did Jackson Dart do? What did Dylan Gabriel do? All that. No, that's a Heisman performance. Plain and simple. Because it's one thing to be in an offense that you already know is going to thrive. It's another thing to take control of a game against a defense like Georgia. And Jalen Milroe never looked under duress. He never looked under pressure. He never seemed to feel like the pocket was collapsing. Play after play after play, he was playing smart. And he kind of was wheeling and dealing and playing that cat and mouse game as we were talking about with the defensive front seven. He was not afraid to go ahead and have these design runs to where it looked like he was going to do the RPO. Nope, I'm just going to wait. Now I'm going to take off and run. The consistency to be able to pass. And the thing that I think a lot of people have to understand is that the reason why I'm hyping up Alabama so much is because this is still such a young staff. This is still a staff that is going into their 4th game of the season and really their first major SEC test. And you would never know that. If I told you that Kalen DeBoer, hey, this is his first SEC game, and in that first half, they lead the way they do, they play that brand of football. More importantly, they play consistently in all three phases of the game, you would say I'm lying. You would call me the biggest shit talker and the biggest liar possible. Because it's one thing to look at this game and say that they just were able to capitalize on play after play. It's another thing to say they just looked like a team that was an unstoppable force. It looked like vintage Nick Saban-led rosters. It felt like this is what the expectations are when you come into Titletown. And I give a lot of credit to what Kalen DeBoer had to do going out throughout the week because of knowing that this game was going to have implications on how fans view you, your first major test replacing who is the greatest to ever walk a sideline in college football history, knowing that this is going to be the future, what the SEC looks like, that Georgia fans had waited, they've believed, they've thought for a while that we're okay playing second fiddle so long as eventually we see Nick Saban shown the door. We're going to be fine. Like, at that point, to know what the pressure was, it was as perfect as the first half as you could ever ask for. And there were so many plays that probably weren't called, as Dave brought up, and plays that were designed. They just said, you know what, we're up by 20. Let's go ahead and take the shot. Let's see if this can connect. That's what you want to see from a team that is going to win a national title. But then comes the second half. And I think a lot of people are going to talk about this because of Alabama gets a win. Alabama looks dominant. Alabama has the consistency. Alabama has the identity. Alabama feels like vintage Crimson Tide. That script day is going to be hailing down in Atlanta. The confetti will be falling on Jalen Milroe. He'll scream, "Roll Tide," and everyone will be so excited. And then you realize, well, why are they back in this game? And we have to talk about that because if there's two truths to the situation. Number one, the only coach that is going to ever be able to scheme up a performance to lead one of the largest comebacks in college football history and in the SEC is Kirby Smart. Very few coaches in the history of the sport will ever be able to do that. But number two, Alabama let them back into the game with critical mistakes. And it's not just defensively. It's not just losing slant routes against a guy like Dominic Lovett or against a guy like Arian Smith on fourth down. It's minor things like 20 seconds left on the clock. You're taking a snap. And now instead of it being 3:54 left, it's 4:02 left because of you now are giving them time. It's the conservative play calling, which I can understand, but it's also not taking the shot. The big problem that I had, and this is where you know that there is still room to grow if you are Kalen DeBoer. That fumble by Carson Beck in the third quarter, they are at midfield. A Nick Saban-led team with a Lane Kiffin, with a Steve Sarkisian, with a Mike Loxley, whoever, they would say this is where we got to strike. This is where we have to go for the jugular. This is the moment where we have to put this game away. And they would. And what was the play calling? First down run, second down run, quick pass to the outside, punt right back to them. That is where momentum was supposed to shift right back to Alabama. And again, it's a young coach. It's a coach that at this point is in his fourth game in the SEC and his first game truly in the conference. But that moment, that's where you see the clear separation between a guy who knows how to win national titles at a school where they demand excellence for 4 quarters and throughout the entire offseason and what that moment is, and a guy who is still kind of learning the ropes. That to me was the biggest difference of where people say, what is Nick Saban? What is Kalen DeBoer? That play right there, because Saban would go for the throat. And he knows that at that point, if I let them come back in this game, it's because of this drive right here. But also, you found a way to win. You found a way to win 12 seconds of a lead in this game for the team that had the longest regular season winning streak in college football as a brand new head coach. That is something to tip your cap to. That is something to say the way that our team played. And also, we got to give a lot of credit to just these young players. I mean, it's not just Ryan Williams. Naturally, of course, Ryan Williams. The guy is a human highlight reel and probably the most important wide receiver to walk through that building since Amari Cooper. But give a lot of credit to Xavier Brown. I mean, you're asked after a play where potentially you give up what was supposed to be a pass interference call. And that would have been at the 1 yard line. And maybe that would have been the reason why this game goes to overtime. The very next play, you put it out of sight, out of mind. You make the highlight grab. You get the interception in the end zone. Bryant-Denny Stadium erupts. Bryant-Denny Stadium becomes what is supposed to be the cathedral of chaos that we have all envisioned. The thing that has made this sport so beautiful. And you can't sell me that those are 2 true freshmen. Because when the moment was at its biggest, you called upon the youngest players the future of the program, of the Kalen DeBoer-led squad. And they delivered. This is why Alabama is the standard of college football. I have so many people who have come into my comment section and talked about how Alabama hasn't won since 2017, minus Mickey Mouse Championship. Alabama hasn't done this. Alabama hasn't done that. Alabama, the standard's not in Tuscaloosa. No, the standard is when you see a freshman deliver that type of performance. 177 yards, the most critical catch, and the maturation to understand what that moment is. What that moment is going to mean to that fan base, and you look like a veteran. You're not doing it against two ragtag, lowly defensive backs. You're doing it against two 5-stars that believe that Georgia is the standard of college football, and you're making the statement. And then to have Brown make the play in the end zone, he's making the statement. That is what
Jalen play was good.
That is the standard of college football. That is the standard of the SEC. That is the standard in Titletown, USA. And you watched it. And for that reason alone, how are you not excited? How are you not pumped if you're an Alabama fan this morning? Because
an Alabama fan isn't excited.
No.
What Alabama fans are in your comments that are saying Alabama's not a good program anymore?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there's many people saying we can't allow them to go ahead and hold back. Guys, it was Kalen DeBoer's first game. You don't think that he's going to learn from this? You don't think that he's going to learn how to better clock management? You don't think he's going to learn how to better take care of the football? You don't think he's going to know that I have to be aggressive against teams like Tennessee and Missouri if I want to walk away with a double-digit win? That's it. Tip of the cap to Georgia. They showed heart. They showed grit. More importantly, the version of Carson Beck that showed up in the second half is the version that we envision being in New York City. We have to go ahead and give credit where credit's due. But Bama never folded. They allowed this team to get close. And then you saw people deliver. And for that reason alone, Alabama is still the standard of college football for my money. And Alabama will be the standard of college football.
Chris, question for you. What were people saying in the stadium? I was interested in this play. Going back and watch. Remember Bama in the fourth quarter now, specifically talking about this game and just plays within the game. Remember Bama with, I'm looking it up on the clock now, they were up 33-21 with about 10 minutes left in the fourth. Remember it was 4th and 11 at their own 43. They were about to go for it. Remember, and that's a Kalen DeBoer staple now. You go back and watch his games against Oregon when he's at Washington. He'll go for it that you're like, to Cole saying like Nick Saban would have put the nail in the coffin. Nick Saban don't go for that. Nick Saban ain't going for it on 4th and 11 on his own 44 when he's up 10 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
but Bama got that false start penalty. It backed it up. And then you saw DeBoer make punt it. You could tell he was frustrated. But that would have been interesting. That would have been the first test from an Alabama fan perspective. Alabama people aren't used to that. It's kind of like, because Saban plays field position. He's a defensive-minded guy. Kalen DeBoer's an offense guy. He's going to be aggressive. But I thought that was interesting. I was like, dude, he's going for this on 4th and 11. If they complete that game, probably doesn't come down to the wire, but you have a little false start penalty. I thought that was interesting. I thought the play on 3rd down where he hits Justice Haynes, what is Justice Haynes doing? Trying to make a guy miss in space where if you just fall forward, dude, it's a first down. Situational awareness gets you beat. That's something Bama, Robert Gillespie, and them have to go talk about. And then I thought Jam Miller, you get vertical on the I think it's 4th and short. Georgia stopped him. He tries to kick it outside. Yeah. Dude, if you just fall forward, it's a first down. But interesting play calls by Kalen DeBoer. I think nobody's talking about. Like,
Bama was so. They were so polar opposite. I mean, you couldn't have been more. I was like, I don't know how this group is so. Give Kirby and Georgia a lot of credit. They made adjustments to your point, but I don't know how you go from doing what you did in the first half to being this anemic. I mean, and I will say this: Bama fans obviously ecstatic today, but I think leaving it wasn't the satisfaction of.
Well, you thought you were going to be.
This should have been an ass kicking.
10 minutes left in the fourth.
This should have really been. I mean, this game should have not even been remotely close. And I think it's poetic that it was because I think this game was just always meant to be close. And I don't, I mean, guys, personally, I was ecstatic that the game turned out the way it did because I'm sitting there at halftime like, man, come on, man. I just wanted a good game. That's it. So, I got my wish in the second half. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought the play calling, they went super conservative. It was cute. It was they're running some of these trick.
But then also Bama was like Georgia in the first half. They didn't have, really more so Bama in the same. Bama didn't have the ball a lot in the second half.
No, Georgia
was milking up the clock. They weren't trying to milk the clock. I think they were just taking what Bama was giving them. But
the problem was,
and then when Bama finally took a shot again, look what happened. I mean,
the problem is that Alabama never decided to play with a little bit of spark. They just played very conservative with the play calling. They decided to not go ahead and milk the clock. So it's one thing to have a team like Georgia run down the clock, take 8 minutes off, find a way to get in for 6 points. But if Alabama is able to go ahead and strike and get to midfield, and then they milk the clock, and then they put themselves, and now it's at a 5-minute roster, and now they're going into the fourth quarter up by 20, different story. The problem is that they weren't taking advantages of what the clock was delivering for them. And again, that's a mistake that
shit was baffling. That shit was baffling. You're like,
but
why
many people are going to learn that. Yeah. But many people have to learn that in the SEC, that it's a completely different element. And whether or not you want to believe it, there is a difference, I think, from even SEC levels. Kirby's the one coach that you do not want to give him any second chances. That is always going to be my standard. You cannot give Kirby Smart a second chance because he will capitalize and he will make you pay for it. And he did. I mean, credit where credit's due. Alabama in the second half, if we talk about just them, that is a team that will lose multiple games this year if they play like that in the first half. But if they don't, then they won't. But again, it comes down to a coach like Kirby who has been in every single situation as a defensive coordinator, as a position coach, as a head coach in this conference, because he's been here for over 18 years. He knows everything about the SEC. That's somebody who knows how to respond. And you can't allow a person to do that.
If I'm a Georgia fan, this is one thing I'd be frustrated about. I went and looked at it last night. CP, we talked about it on the reaction show. I brought it up. But CP, you may not have saw it. Points in the first half for Georgia and Mike Bobo. Not getting off to good starts. At half, 6 points against Clemson. Against Kentucky at half, 3 points against Kentucky, you were down. Alabama, you only had 7. Why is the second half really not Kentucky in the second half offensively for Georgia, but they got a little better. But why is it taking you so long to come out of the gates? If I'm Kirby Smart, then that's what I'm kind of self-reflecting on this Sunday. Hey, Mike, and those two are best friends. Like, what is the issue? Why are we coming out slow in every big game? Why are we coming out slow, man? We're not even putting up double-digit points in first half against teams who can actually breathe between Clemson, Alabama, and Kentucky. Like they got to get that figured out starting this week against Auburn. That's what would concern me if I'm Georgia offensively looks like deer in headlights in the first half against most teams for whatever reason. And it's funny because most teams come out better offensively right out of the gate because they're your 25, 30 scripted plays that that you've ran against their defensive scheme that you're like, yeah, there's holes in that before they adjust. It's a little strange to me. It's a little concerning if I'm Georgia as you kind of go down these stretches you play in Ole Miss, Texas, and Tennessee down the stretches. You got to start off hot. You got to be a little bit, maybe even hot something. Just be better than single-digit points in the first half.
No, I think hot is the right answer, Dave. I'm sorry. I do because of an offense.
I'm not saying they got to go put up 40 points in the first half. Let's go put up 20, 24 points.
No, but still, you can't be doing these 6 point, 7 point shit. You can't because Texas.
That's what I'm saying.
Because Texas will respond, and Texas can respond in the second half. Tennessee can respond, and they can respond in the second half in multiple levels. And even Ole Miss, I think, can. I think the version that we saw of Ole Miss, I know we're going to get to that game in a little bit, but I think the version of Ole Miss that we saw yesterday is not the version we will see when they take on Georgia. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be the version we see next week against South Carolina.
Guys, I was also told going into this game a couple things. Number one, that Bryant-Denny Stadium is not that loud. I'm going to respectfully disagree after that experience. I was also told that games like this weren't going to be as big of a deal or as electric because we have an expanded playoff. Again, that was probably the best college football game I've ever taken in person, ever. I mean, that was just the best, man. It was incredible to be in the midst of greatness, which is those two programs and those two teams. And, to your point, again, Cole and Dave, again, you guys attended the university and got a lot of respect for Georgia, a lot of respect for every other stop we've made and will make. But when you're in Tuscaloosa, man, it's just different. I mean, again, I told you guys before we went live, I left the stadium and looked around. I was like, man, they've left this stadium a lot feeling like this. Like they've done a lot of winning. This is a lot of winning, and they expect to win. And again, I feel like a game that was just always meant to be close. You give Georgia a lot of credit for what they did in the second half, and Bama will have some things that they'll be scratching their heads trying to clean up. But yeah, I mean, to have because I mean, dude, Bama would have become like the next Falcons. That would have become like the next 28-3 if they'd have blown that and lost that game.
100%.
So to have
I always felt bad for Kalen DeBoer in a post game. That'd been a tough first.
Yeah, I mean, to have to be able to respond and you just Ryan Williams, man, he's just unreal.
It's stupid.
It's unbelievable. What do you think, guys? You think what's the odds he leaves Bama as the best wide receiver ever in school history? That's what people were saying after the game last night.
Still too early to say he's the best.
Dude, he doesn't even know what he's doing, and he's cooking all conference defensive
No idea
backs.
what he's doing. But
He's cooking them.
Also, the guy that always set the standard, and I'm a little biased because we're the same age, but I think he was the one that kind of got Bama going for that. I'm always going to have a soft spot for Julio Jones. To be fair, he didn't have a quarterback like guys have had, and he was the only threat. I mean, Marquise Mays, Darius Hanks, nobody's worried about. And also, no offense, Greg McElroy. I love you, brother. But Julio Jones didn't have it. Julio Jones would have given his left, to just have A.J. McCarron, who was just okay.
the fact is that sometimes offenses fit better players because of the offense that Ryan Williams is in. And by the way, the reason why I think that we need to go ahead and give a lot of respect to Ryan Williams and what he's doing is because he took a shot on himself. Brand new coach, brand new system. He was committed to go play for Nick Saban. Decommitted from the program, listened and said, okay, I like the vision that Kalen DeBoer has. I'm a 5-star plus wide receiver. I can go anywhere in the country. I can go to Texas. I can go to Miami. I can go to Texas A&M. I can follow Holman Wiggins down there. I'm good. Like, I can go anywhere in the country. I'm going to go play for this guy, and I'm going to show you why you need to play here too. And the fact that he's doing this and he's only going to get better, that's the part where people just don't understand. He is going to get better, and he's doing this now. And the maturity of a player to just make the type of plays that he is. It's not just the speed, the consistency, the strong hands. It's the maturity to realize where the sideline is, how to step back, find somebody to corral and crash into each other, cut back upfield, and make that play. They're great. And you want to know what? I'm very excited for this young crop of wide receivers. Ryan Wingo at Texas, Cam Coleman at Auburn. They're studs. Jeremiah Smith even is a stud. And I think that the crazy part is Jeremiah Smith making that highlight grab. Ryan Wingo saw that probably at halftime and said, all right, bet. And that's why he made the juggling catch to make everyone shut the hell up about what was going on in Columbus and talk about what was going on there. But that's the maturity that you just can't teach. It's a skill that you were either born with and you have from the moment that you touch onto a football field, or you don't. He may be the best wide receiver that ever walks through that building. He 100% may be. And it may be because of Kalen DeBoer is the best fit for him, just like it is for Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe might win the Heisman Trophy simply because Kalen DeBoer is now his head coach.
Guys, we could spend all day talking about that game. Again, guys, make sure you check out the vlog that drops Wednesday. I mean, the content I got was insane. Again, we dropped this morning the Ryan Williams touchdown, which I can't believe I got on video. I actually got the Georgia touchdown, the play before that, on video too. So it was a wild time. Again, can't say thank you to the folks in Tuscaloosa. Bama and Georgia fans alike, but my goodness, I mean, one of the best weekends I'll ever have as a college football fan. Guys, let's go to a fan base that is feeling polar opposites of Alabama. That is Ole Miss. Dude.
Just stop.
Ole Miss fans. Oh, my God. Like, nightmare scenario.
Stop.
Bro, I'm sorry. I just can't fathom how Ole Miss fans feel today. You spent all this money. You've invested all these resources into all these players. And, bro, give Kentucky credit, but my God, on your home field, you go out there and put out that performance. They're not dead yet, but, I mean, I don't even know what to think of Ole Miss right now. And again, Kentucky doesn't make any sense to me. They're just, I mean, they're obviously not what they showed in the South Carolina game. They're a lot better than that. The defense is they got dudes. We talked about it. They got dudes. I mean, they got dudes on defense.
I think it's fair from an Ole Miss standpoint. They're still not there up front offensively when they face championship caliber defenses. And I think Kentucky's in that conversation defensively up front. I mean, I think they got the best interior guy. Ole Miss is not there yet up front.
No.
And nowhere near is a major concern still. They brought in bodies, and they're beat up a little bit, but still the point remains I still don't think – I think defensively they got more depth on the defensive line than they had with J.J. Pegues and stuff like that. Again, his brother is one of the best players I've ever played against. But they have depth, I think, on the defensive line. The offensive line, I think, is a little fool's gold on the depth. That again, a lot of teams don't have depth there and in the defensive backfield. But that's the thing that stood out in this game. Again, one of Lane's worst play calling games. If I see another Jackson Dart draw on 3rd and 7, I'm going to pull my eyes out. But yeah, the offensive line, Ole Miss not controlling the line of scrimmage was really what stood out. I thought Kentucky rolled in looking like, no, we're not just coming here to hang. We want to come win this game. And I think the difference in the game was that very end of the half when Kentucky went up, they let them sleep around, hang around too much. Kentucky got a chance, they won, and then you go for it on 4th and 15, more than 11, and you hit the 60-yard bomb. That was the difference. I mean, give Kentucky credit. I still think Brock Vandagriff is what he is. It's not they're using a 2-quarterback system now, which is smart. They changed. Gavin Wimsatt's going to get some run. How about that fumble though? Just bounced right to the tight end, Caddis, right in his hands, and just fell into the end zone. But no, I thought Kentucky had a good plan offensively. It wasn't pretty, but just stay ahead of the sticks, get in some manageable situations. You're going to have a chance there. Ole Miss, dude, offensive line is what stands out to me there.
Cole, I love you, brother, but Ole Miss deserves every bit of
No, they do.
trash they're going to get. Every bit of trash they're going to get. They deserve it.
Sorry. You know me right now. Darnado, Heisman Trophy winner. Pegged him. Start of the year. Didn't have that performance. Not yesterday. Not against that defense. Not against a defense that had 2 freshman cornerbacks having to play and Maxwell Harrison being out. Not against a defense that was able to corral him into making mistakes to where he did not look like a 3rd-year starter in a system that he has mastered. And basically, as I like to make the Star Wars reference, because I call him Anakin Skywalker, he calls himself Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, a.k.a. Lane Kiffin, I have nothing left to teach you, my young Padawan, and yet you're making the blundering, dumb mistakes. Things as simple as, hey, it's a free play. How about we go ahead and take a shot downfield? How about we go ahead and make that type of grab? How about we go ahead and make that type crap, my dog's about to throw up. That's always fun. Right in the middle of the conversation. Oh, good. She didn't do it. Anyways, you have the opportunity.
Hearing you talk about Dartnado and Lane Kiffin's play calling.
Yeah, but I mean,
right on cue.
Right on cue.
Yeah. I'm sick. You had one good play. Go back to that first drive. Just tell me that you look at that first drive and how they responded and how quickly they sliced and diced up Kentucky's defense. A very good Kentucky defense. And then you turned off the game. You would have thought that Jackson Dart got hurt. You would have thought that maybe that you lost both your running backs. You would have thought that maybe there was 2 targeting calls that put them inside the red zone, like something. But you would not have expected it because of Ole Miss's offensive identity. Simply went out the window. Simply just decided to disappear. Like it took a freaking break and then woke up on a 4th down call at the start of the right at the end of the 3rd quarter. Like you would have 100% thought that something happened to where they had to go their backup quarterback, and that was why the game was what it was. No, it was Lane Kiffin not caring about this game. And rat poison is 100% real. And this is where I get frustrated from a fan's perspective, especially if I'm an Ole Miss fan this morning. The schedule was so easy. You got complacent. And because of the South Carolina game, because of where they looked in that matchup, because of you had Mark Stoops shit the bed. Sorry, hate to say it. On a 4th and 8. Oh, we don't have to worry about this. No, we don't have to worry about this. We'll be fine. It's Kentucky. Let me remind you, this is the SEC, where if you don't give your A-plus punch to average to slightly above average teams like Kentucky, because they have an elite defensive front, you will lose. And you did. And now the crazy part is, as one of the biggest Ole Miss supporters, having them go 11-1, making it to the SEC championship for the first time in program history, I may pick against them next week. I may 100% pick against them going into Williams-Brice Stadium against that South Carolina defense. And here's the crazy part, Chris Phillips. Here's the crazy part, Dave Shumate. It's not over after that, because it's one thing to lose morale and it's one thing to lose the identity and aura that you're going to go to the college football playoff. You get to go face off against a healthy and well-rested South Carolina team in that atmosphere on a Saturday. And it gets even better. The week after, you get to go travel down to Death Valley, the most toxic, volatile, haymaking, holy crap, we have to play A-plus football, and that might not even be good enough environment in college football against an LSU team, which also is going to be well rested. You get one shot. You get one mistake. You blew it in the first SEC game. Congratulations, Lane. Congratulations, Ole Miss. We all were just so excited for you. And by the way, I got to give Kentucky credit. They played a physical brand of football, no nonsense. They delivered. They did exactly what they needed to do to go ahead and get a win. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They earned that win, 100%. But my God, Ole Miss, did you just forget how to play football? Like, did you just forget that the SEC exists? Did you just think that you were taking on another testicle tech-worthy program? Because that is the only excuse you can say for this game. Kentucky, solid win. Physical brand of football. They connected, and Mark Stoops, you got marbles. In the great words of Pedro Serrano, you got marbles. But sorry. That's Ole Miss just fumbling the bag. That's Ole Miss just treating it like it was a normal Saturday.
Stoops is usually a pretty stoic guy. He was even getting emotional post-game.
He should.
I saw he was riding the
it's a top 5 Kentucky win of all time.
Yeah, with the crowd surfing.
I had people in the comment section yesterday saying, like, it really wasn't that big of a win. It's the largest road victory against a top 10 opponent since 1977 in Kentucky history. Yeah, it's that monumental of a victory. Sorry, it is.
Yeah, and we have to remind ourselves, too, and I say this with all due respect, like, it's Kentucky. Like, what Mark Stoops has done at Kentucky, continues to do at Kentucky. Like, is he the best Kentucky?
I think they got some there. Offense for them this year is never going to be awesome. They're not going to go outscore people all the time.
It's not their identity.
Yeah. But I think they do. At least they showed willing to adapt and change. Like, hey, like, we're going to run a 2-quarterback system. It's not always going to be pretty, but this is going to give us the best shot to win games. So touche to them, because last 3 weeks ago it looked really bad. I mean, there's no denying that. And then they changed, give them credit. So I'm interested to see how that goes down the line. They got a lot of winnable games coming up. They got Vandy, Florida, and Auburn.
Chris, real fast, did you say, is Mark Stoops the greatest coach in Kentucky football history? Yeah, no, I thought that was a determining factor.
Well, I know Bear was there, right? Bear Bryant, didn't he coach?
Doesn't mean shit.
I just, some people might, I don't know. I mean,
I think
he is. I think he is. Yeah.
Billy Napier was the offensive coordinator for Dabo Swinney. Cool. Like, yeah, that's it. Like, those equal the same thing for me.
Yeah.
If I'm a Kentucky fan, though, I'm also kind of pissed. Like, are you not just a little pissed off right now because of Mark Stoops dropped his nuts and said, let's go for it on 4th and 6. They connected. And on top of that, if you did it the week before against Georgia when they were down and buried, you would have one loss to South Carolina. And South Carolina, depending on what happens for the rest of the season, that might not be as bad as a loss as we're coming out to be. Like, Clemson right now has got to be feeling really good about their situation because of how Georgia has played. And now their loss does not look as demoralizing. It may actually end up boasting in their resume. I'm a little pissed off. I'm a little pissed off right now if I'm a Kentucky fan, because we're a handful of plays away from either being undefeated and maybe being that dark horse to go to the college football playoff, or at least a 4th and 8 conversion of beating the number 1 team in the country, and then 2 weeks later beating a top 10 team in the country on the road for the biggest win that we've had underneath Mark Stoops on a road environment away from Kroger Field. I can be excited that they had a good game. I can be excited that they found a way to win, and that they certainly feel like this team, they're sneaky good. They're going to be a sneaky out this year. I'll tell you what, the way that they played, if that's the version that you get moving forward, they're going to be sneaky to watch. But I'm also a little pissed because we're just 6 or 7 plays away from either being 5-0 or at least 4-1 and controlling our destiny to go to the college football playoff. Because here's the thing, and Dave and I know this, and Chris, you know this as well. A team like Alabama will benefit with a 10-2 record simply because it's Alabama. Kentucky has got to earn that 10-win season, and they may or may not.
Before we can move on games, Jaden Williams is out for the year for Ole Miss, the torn meniscus ACL. So that's tough. That's tough, especially. I'd be interested to be in the Ole Miss offensive meetings this week and how they plan on to attack that South Carolina defensive line, because they definitely are going to be limping in there on an offensive line standpoint. I mean, if it's just a torn meniscus, he's probably out 3 to 4 weeks. But if it's an ACL, like they're reporting,
I know we already know this, but it just goes to show again that these games against inferior opponents mean literally nothing. I mean,
by the way, just real fast, Maniac Gotcha is 6-7 plays. Yeah, 6-7 plays against Kentucky, against Georgia. They win that football game. Doesn't mean it's against South Carolina. It can be just against that.
Yeah.
Also, Joe K. real fast. If Texas plays Kentucky instead of Ole Miss, Mississippi State yesterday, they lose. First half was a cluster mess. I'm not ready to roll out Kentucky against Texas. I'm not. I'm not.
Kentucky gets them in a good spot.
Kentucky
gets them in a very good spot. I'm not ready to roll them out.
Yeah, Kentucky's just that. I mean, they're kind of what I say they're what I thought they'd be. They have not gotten there the way I thought they would. But, I mean, I think Kentucky's identity as a program, guys, which is, again, a positive. It's better than it's ever been before. It's just they're that team you don't look forward to playing that every now and then can spark a big upset like this or a big win like this. So, you don't look forward to playing Kentucky. And that is one of the greatest compliments you can give any team, right? Is just, hey, they may not be Alabama, but we sure as hell don't look forward to playing these guys. And they always give us a really tough game. And that's kind of been the identity of Kentucky, I feel like, during Mark Stoops. So, but yeah, certainly it's a lot of questions in Oxford. I mean, I was stunned by that performance. I was stunned by that outcome. And, yeah, like you mentioned, Cole, it doesn't get easier. I mean, again, you got to go to Williams-Brice Stadium, and that fan base is going to be as juiced as ever for that ball game. Guys, let's go to what happened on the plane. Speaking of a fan base that is reeling, my goodness. By the way, I told you guys that if the over hit in this game, I may never bet again.
I'm never betting again.
I feel like giving up. I feel like giving up. I don't know how.
Well, I think once you start betting the over-under late, Vegas catches up. So they're like, we're going to put this really low. So they're not going to score. You almost got to get it early in the week, those over-unders from that perspective. Yeah. You're right. I mean, pick six beats you.
Yeah, Oklahoma outscores Auburn 17-7 in the fourth quarter. Guys, Sooners were dead. They were dead. I mean, they were cooked. They were done. They're finished. What a comeback for Oklahoma. You give them a lot of credit. The pick six there at the end from Peyton Thorne, which, his stat line, guys, otherwise, 21-32, 338, 3 touchdowns. But that back-breaking interception was the most Peyton Thorne thing of all time. And
he was due. Can we just say he was due at some point?
Like, he was. He had been too good. He had been too. You're like,
it was too good of a stat
line. This isn't really who he is. This isn't really who he is. Come on now, show yourself. Show yourself.
Yeah, he was playing well. He was playing well until that. I mean, but he made up for it all in one play. I mean, that's what you thought. I think before that you thought going to the year you'd probably see from him. It's never going to be a high ceiling thing, but just like operating the system comfortably. Who was he? 21 for 32. Yeah, 338, 3 touchdowns with that one interception.
Is all anybody will remember.
Yeah. That's the problem. Again, I'm on Hugh Freeze a little bit, though, too. Why wouldn't you just run it there? I think if you just punt the football, you win the game.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just that. And by the way, I think we have to go ahead and preface this real fast because it is what it is. Oklahoma's defense will help them win in the SEC, but their offense is not ready to take on better competition. It's not. I'm sorry. We can both say two things are true. Their defense is good enough to keep them in games. If you think that offense, the one that you saw, and you're clamoring about beating Auburn, is going to help you win against Missouri, win against Alabama, win against Texas, please pass me whatever drugs you were having. I will flush them down the toilet for you, and we're going to go ahead and call you a priest. We're going to go ahead and call you a rehabilitation center, because I'm sorry, that is not an offense that is good enough to win in the SEC right now, but that defense is.
Cole, I saw more people on social media calling for Seth Luttrell's head than anything. I mean, they about ready to get him out. I mean,
the only problem, I think they probably will get rid of him, but the problem is that Venables is like one of his best buddies. So I don't know.
But you know what? But like, here's the thing. They can get better. Like the thing with Oklahoma's offense is they can get better. How many wide receivers were out? How many offensive linemen have been missing? I mean, you're playing with a brand new unit of 5 guys up front. Like, it was always going to take time. That's kind of the beauty of where we are with Oklahoma's offense.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Cole, to your point, the fact, I mean, we're kind of beating up on Auburn, but the fact that Oklahoma went into Jordan Hare and won that game without their top 5 receivers and an injury report.
12 starters in total they were missing. 12 out of 14.
An injury report that like a CVS receipt. Like, I mean, just that was insane when we saw that Friday.
Yeah, I mean, there were World War II. There were World War II casualty reports in the trenches that looked better than that.
Honestly, that's where I will give Oklahoma a lot of credit, is that they played a physical brand of football defensively. You saw multiple players, Bauer Sharp having that big time grab across the middle of the field, having Michael Hawkins in his first real start in a road atmosphere the way that it was. That's scary enough. Having JJ Hester come down with a 60-yard bomb, that's enough for me to say, okay, that performance is not good enough to beat quality teams in the SEC, but it is good enough to, I think, set a standard going into the bye week to where you get healthy, you get at the right point. Maybe you make things interesting in what's going to be Red River because we know what that game is. But again, that offense can be fixed. You can't fix what's going on with Auburn at this point. You can't. Because of even when you play that good of a game, you still find a way to lose. Chris, it's Jordan-Hare Stadium. That atmosphere is supposed to be one of the most hostile environments in all of college football. Dave, me, you, Nick freaking Saban has talked about what that place is like when things are humming. And I felt it. I felt it going into the fourth quarter. I felt it going into that last drive. And literally Kip Lewis runs it back 67 yards and you feel the atmosphere completely sucked out in 5 seconds. And that is going to be Auburn this year. You're 2-3 at home. And this was the easy part of the schedule. This was supposed to be the tune-up.
Yeah, a lot of people had them 4-1, 5-0.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
we were talking about what if Auburn's 5-0 going in that Georgia game. So now, like you said, they're
yeah. I mean, what are we
on the
saying
road
about Auburn when
for
they come back home? Their first home game, November 2nd against Vanderbilt. It's their next time they're back at home.
They welcome
at
home.
Georgia. Then they have a bye week at Missouri and at Kentucky. Do they win one of those 3 road games when they come back home?
Who do they welcome home? Who do they welcome back? That's the main.
But I mean, specifically to this game, do they play? Do they win one of those 3 road games? I would say for sure not next week.
2-6 is in the cards for sure. I mean,
they're not winning any of those games.
Yeah.
No, the only one I would probably say Eli Drinkwitz would have it in him to go lay an egg. That would be it. I don't think they do anything against Kentucky.
Well, here's the thing. Watch as Missouri plays against A&M really well, and they get a win, and then they lose to Auburn. Like that feels like
right up Missouri's alley. I agree.
That feels just like an Eli Drinkwitz thing. Or watch them lose next week to Texas A&M, and then they eviscerate Auburn by like 40 points, and it's like, do you want to decide what you want to be this year? Like that's how it feels right now when talking about it. That truly, that's how it feels. But my God, man, Auburn at this point, you can't fire him. You can't. But I understand it. I completely get it. Like, I truly understand why Auburn fans this morning are frustrated. And the worst part is that Peyton Thorne gives you your best shot. That's horrifying.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Can you imagine waking up this morning as an Auburn fan and knowing that guy is the only way that we can win football?
Even to this game, that was probably one of his better games he's played at Auburn, but it's like he still had a critical mistake that literally lost us the football game. Now,
guys,
I'll say this too. If y'all were watching at the end of the half, that was a total crap show by both teams. You had Auburn roll out there, Hugh, for whatever reason. Again, I don't get it. I saw him blame the kicker a little bit. Hugh, for whatever reason, with no timeouts in 12 seconds, is just going to go run a little hook curl route, and it's a shit storm to run everybody on the field to go try to kick a field goal in the half. He misses it. Oklahoma has an illegal substitution. They have 12 men on the field. They get to re-kick it, move it 5 yards off. The kid still misses it, and it's just like, oh man, what can go wrong will go wrong.
Both of those teams felt a little bad news bears us at times. I mean,
Oklahoma, to y'all's point too. You say that was a season. Again, Oklahoma's not competing for the SEC this year. Again, you're too banged up injury wise. I think Oklahoma fans are the only ones who thought losing 5 offensive linemen wouldn't be something that you could just plug and play. But
could you say 9-3 is still on the table?
No, not with this.
I think it is.
I think make a lot of improvements offensively. Going to make a lot of improvements.
But still, they got to make a lot of improvements offensively. I wouldn't say they're 9-3.
It's maybe not impossible, but
it's not impossible. Let's go with this. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible because they still have 7 games. But yes.
Good point, Dave. Good man.
Yeah, very, very good point.
I mean, literally though, this game, the biggest difference that one turnover Auburn had to Oklahoma did play a clean game, but 2 of 11 on third down.
I mean, I'm with Cole right now. I'm looking at Oklahoma's schedule. I disagree with Cole going into the year that I thought they could lose it. I mean, dude, right now, if South Carolina and Oklahoma played this week, I'd take South Carolina.
Yeah, and they play in a couple weeks.
So. Yeah, I mean, they got Texas, South Carolina, at Ole Miss, Maine, at Missouri, Alabama, and at LSU. I mean, they may not be favored in any of those games.
Yeah. Hey, give the Sooners credit. There's no such thing as a bad road win in the SEC.
No, you take. I mean, that was your season. You saved your season with your second string.
Take the dub and run from the Plains. So.
No, 100%. And by the way, this is one of those games where you 100% are just happy to walk away with a win. You are just beyond like, I know there are Oklahoma fans who are going to say, no, we dominated. We had you had all five, you had your top 5 starting wide receivers out. You had a brand new quarterback being indoctrinated into an offense for the first time in a road atmosphere, in that atmosphere where you felt the crowd pressure. And more importantly, you had a defense that delivered in the crushing moments. You are thankful to get a win, go into the bye week at 4-1 and feel happy, healthy, and more confident now playing in Red River. Just take that and be content.
Guys, let's go to the Southwest Classic down in Arlington. Texas A&M, Arkansas. A&M gets the dub, which has been, again, death taxes, and Texas A&M beating Arkansas in Arlington. There's nobody happier today than Arkansas fans because the fact that was the last one ever in that building. Biggest takeaways, guys, from the Aggies 21-17 dub over
Very
Arkansas outside.
A lot of the other Southwest Classic.
Yeah, it's just like,
I mean, it's literally you could have pulled it out of a hat and
lather, rinse, repeat.
The one.
Yeah, lather, rinse, repeat. Like we said, it's always the same spread. It's the same kind of game. And
Arkansas is who we talk about all the time. Arkansas probably outplayed A&M in that one if you really want to go look at it. But again, when you have 10 penalties, if you're Arkansas, you turn the football over 3 times, you're not going to win many football games. And that's just what Arkansas is. It feels like they're 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Again, I thought the difference was this, why I picked A&M. I thought Mike Elko would throw a lot at Taylor Green. You could tell he looked really confused at times. And when A&M needed it, they needed a drive. They went and got it. They put it together late. Again, I blame Deke Adams, the defensive line coach for Arkansas, for whatever reason. That whole drive, he had his second string defensive line in there when they were up. Where was Landon Jackson? Where was Eric Gregory? That makes no sense. He brought them in on the goal line when they were down there. Little too late, though. From talking to them over there, that was something I think that they were like, what the hell are we doing substitution-wise? So that's something to keep in mind when watching that game from an Arkansas standpoint. But A&M kind of dominated from the last 10 minutes on, just made plays when they had to. Arkansas continues to shoot themselves in the foot. Overall, though, I mean, pretty similar game. We see a lot in this game in Dallas.
Let's just say 2 things are true. Number 1, by the way, real quickly, I apologize to the A&M community who I quote unquote offended for saying that every one of those games in the Southwest Classic has been decided by 1 score. Because I was wrong. You were very correct. 2020, it was not decided by 1 score. Last year, it wasn't decided by 1 score. I was right. More often than not, it is decided by 1 score. So if I offended you saying that your dominance was not more successful and more prominent and that you can whoop it on out of there, good for you. My bad. My apologies. That defense came to play. You watched as why Nick Scorton is one of the best defensive players in the SEC. You watch why he is so critical to working with that unit, especially with Mike Elko. You watch as Mike Elko once again brought a game plan that took away Taylor Green's best element. The fact is that they had to win through the air with Bobby Petrino's passing attack. That was the only way that they're going to get the dub, because if A&M allowed less than 140 yards on the ground and nobody got more than a 7-yard carry, more than a 117-yard carry. They made this offense so one-dimensional. Absolutely. Now, with that being said, as good as A&M looked defensively, and I have said that this offense was humming, I'm wrong. It's not truly humming, but it is looking better than what I envisioned with a first-year quarterback in Marcel Reed. More than that, Arkansas shot up in the foot. They did. You won that game, and you won a hard-fought physical game. You did that. You did that. Let's go ahead and call a spade a spade. You won that football game, and now you get to carry that momentum playing against a top 10 Missouri team. Arkansas pushed you over the edge. You were right there at the finish line. Arkansas said, there you go. Let's go. Because that's what it is. And it's every single year. It is.
Here's the number. Going into the 4th quarter, boys. Here it is. Through 3 quarters. And again, yards, one of the more overrated stats, but just to kind of set the tone. Arkansas had doubled A&M's yardage, 334 to 176 going into that fourth quarter. And Arkansas took the lead with 2 minutes into the fourth, but A&M outgained them 121 in the first quarter, in the final quarter. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's
This
just
is now the second time where Arkansas had more yards, more first downs, more passing, more everything, and lost the game. That is you shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. They invent ways to screw it up. That's like
they lose games. It's like the simplest way.
Yes, they lose games. They don't win them. Yeah.
And again, more games are lost than they are won for every team. But again, Arkansas is the epitome of that.
Yeah,
I will say though,
they're one of those volatile SEC teams this year. Go ahead, Cole.
I will say though, finally seeing what Shamar Stewart can be as a player was really exciting. Finally seeing Nick Scorton live up to the expectations, and also. Huge shout out, and Cole, as I see your comments, so I'm giving you a shout out for this too. Tommy Moffitt has been such a godsend for this team. Like, honestly, just the physical brand of football that they're playing, and it can be better, and it will get better, especially because this is year one of Mike Elko. That is probably the ultimate feeling of we got the right guy. Because if you built a staff that was willing to go ahead and add in people who certainly do not need to be overlooked. Because everyone just wants to focus so much in on the head coach. Everyone wants to focus in on the coordinators. But your strength and conditioning staff, your weight room facility staff, your trainers, your nutritional staff, all of them are so detrimental to your success. And they have it at Alabama, and they have it at LSU, and they have it at Georgia, and they have it at Texas. And the fact that you have Tommy Moffitt that was able to get this team physically well prepared to win the dogfight, win the physical force. This is why they are a fourth quarter team. And you couldn't say that about Jimbo Fisher, especially in the last few years. They are a fourth quarter team underneath Mike Elko, and that's a major statement to the people who he has hired.
Here we go. A&M is not allowed more than 23 points in a game yet this year. Does that streak in next week?
How many? What?
They haven't given up more than 23 points in a game this year. Does that end next week?
I don't know. I genuinely
you can't put Cole in the spot like that when it comes to
genuinely
man.
Because if here's the thing. If you're asking me, can Missouri score more than 23 points against A&M's defense? I would say yes.
Yeah.
But also, we don't know what versus Missouri we're going to get. We don't. Like we really don't.
Yeah, Brady Cook's very likely to leave some points on the board.
Yeah.
And also, Brady Cook, like having this bye week, does he get healthy? Because again, he's been having some shoulder issues. So Mizzou fans who are sitting out here saying Cole doesn't believe in us anymore. That's not true. I'm still bandwagon Cole. I'm still number one in your heart. Still going to bang that drum. Still going to bring me on over to Como. We all know that. But we got to give credit. He's been playing with a shoulder problem. But does the shoulder get fixed? Because if it doesn't, I don't know if they score 23. I don't. I truly don't.
Yeah, I mean, to you guys' point, and one of the things made college football so great this year, Cole mentioned at the top of the show, is just so much volatility, so much of we have no idea what to expect and which version of these teams we're going to get. But unfortunately, like you mentioned, Dave, it's becoming the identity of Arkansas that it's like Arkansas just can't handle prosperity. Every time something good's about to happen, they just can't help but screw it up. So I don't know.
It
was like the play at the end when Le'Veon Moss broke it to kind of put the first down out of reach. The DB, I don't think it was Danico Slaughter, but I forgot who it was, gets stiff arm. Gets a stiff arm. The kid gets frustrated and tackles Le'Veon Moss with his face mask for another extra 15 yards. It's like, dude, come on, man. That's undisciplined football. You can't be doing that.
Going back to that, I know I'm jumping way back to the Bama-Georgia game. Something that stood out to me, guys, especially from the Georgia side, those teams don't do stupid stuff like that. They just don't. They don't. There were so many opportunities in that game. I wanted to say this. There were so many opportunities in that game where I'm like, another team I watch, guys going out of bounds, you can see the Georgia guy pull up. You could see they don't do stupid stuff.
The only one they called that game, which I thought was a little soft, was the one on Tyler Booker on the back end that he pushed. Or it may have been Ray.
I didn't honestly get a good look at that on.
No, I mean, if you were there,
that was other end of the field. But I just noticed Georgia guys a couple of times where I'm like, there were a couple plays where there could have been, a late hit or an overly aggressive play. You know what I mean? Like I saw the Georgia guy pull up and I'm like, that is a smart foot. They are a well-coached.
You're such a smart team.
They're not selfish. Bama's the same way. I'm just like, Bama
got the dumb penalty at the end of the half. Like over there.
Yeah, that was stupid.
You wouldn't have seen last. You wouldn't have seen under Saban over there. They're on the other sideline talking crap.
But I'm just more so giving credit, like that level of football, man. It's different. I know I'm going way back to the first game.
No, guys, I gotta get out of here in a couple minutes.
Let's go, Texans.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Texas, Mississippi State, LSU, South Alabama. Just last thoughts. I mean, LSU, South Alabama, we can leave alone. It's fine.
Before we do that, I just want to get to this one comment. What is y'all's quarterback situation on A&M? Marcel for Weigman's performance. Here's my thought. I personally believe at this point, Marcel Reed fits the offense for Colin Klein better. I think that Weigman is the better quarterback. So I think at this point, you have to give Weigman his fair shot to be QB1 again, because there are so many moments where it does feel like Marcel Reed left some plays on the table.
Cole,
and I won't admit that.
When do you? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm asking you this. I just want to hear your thought. When do you do that? Is it when Marcel Reed isn't playing well, or do you go into a game starting Weigman?
I think you have to go into a game starting Weigman, because at this point, you know what you're going to get from Marcel Reed in this offense. Maybe you don't know what you're going to get from Connor Weigman at this point. So for me, I would feel more comfortable. Let's just say next week he's clear to play against Missouri. I would feel more comfortable with him starting, maybe throwing a pick, and then you go to Marcel Reed, or him throwing 2 touchdown passes, and we say, okay, this is what the offense is supposed to look like. We know that we have 2 great options right now to work with. That to me feels it, because I know what I'm going to get in Marcel Reed. But once Weigman is 100% fully healthy, I let him start just to see what is the difference in how these offense blend. That's
Cole, last thing from you. I know you got to go. Are you worried about Texas? I'll just ask it as simple as that. Does anything concern you from what you saw?
No, because here's the other part that we have to just keep in mind. It's Arch Manning. It's not Quinn Ewers. It's Arch Manning. It's not Quinn Ewers. There are still going to be moments where Quinn potentially has a blundering mistake, but overall, it's a God damn.
Bless you, sir.
It can never come out. That's the worst part.
He's allergic to talking about Jeff Levy.
Yeah, I'm allergic. Thank you. Exactly. 100%. The problem is that, like, it's Texas that could probably find ways to not leave points on the board if they have Quinn out there. And it was Arch Manning in his first SEC start. You really want me to go ahead and put that much gusto into it when they never lost the lead? There were some drives that didn't feel comfortable, but they never found a way to give the ball back and put Mississippi State in easy positions to be able to strike. That's where I'm at right now.
And State shortened that game. What they run, they ran the football in like their first 13 play. I think Levy, dude. I mean, coaches think about this. I think Levy came into that game probably like, playing with my backup quarterback, boys. We go sling it around like I want to. We're going to get blown out. And big donors who give the money, yeah, they're great business people, but they don't know crap about football most of the time. They care about if you cover or not. Like, I bet Levy went into that game like, we can just shorten this game, guys, and just not get totally blown out. You never want to lose, but like, let's just don't go embarrass ourselves. Let's just run the football, shorten the game. They won't be able to beat us by 38 points. I mean, I'd be shocked if that wasn't a conversation, at least internally in his head when he's calling plays there.
Here's the good news. Texas will have back Quinn Ewers for its 2 most crucial games of the season right now. That's all I need to know. If you play like that with Arch Manning and you found dudes who were really, 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 really confident, like DeAndre Moore stepping on up yesterday, that's a big-time player, along with Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, what they have in Gunnar Helm. I'm not worried about Texas. And Texas at this point and Alabama at this point, I said this for a while about Ole Miss, but if you tell me today who's in the college football playoff without knowing what the rest of the season is, Alabama and Texas are in. You can put it in permanent marker. The only thing that you're arguing at this point when it comes to those two, where are they seated? Where do they belong? Are they a 1 seed? Are they a 7 seed? Are they a 10 seed? That's all you're arguing. But those two are in the playoff. They are. To
Dave's point, 35-25, Mississippi State won the time possession battle. So keep away.
Trying to shorten the game and not get blown out.
Exactly.
Exactly. Guys, I'm out of here. Bevo's bodyguard, you are 100% correct. Gunnar Helm, guy who I absolutely, dude, he is part of Thompson's top team. Like, I'm gonna make a list of it.
One word answer before you go. Should Alabama be the new number 1 after the way they beat Georgia?
Roll Tide.
That's 2 words, Cole. Come on.
One slogan. Dave, we'll close it out. I don't really have much to add on Texas, Mississippi State. That was a game I was.
No, that was really what I garnered from that. Was just like you can tell Mississippi State went out there and they're like, yeah, they're just trying to
kind of just like file it. Yeah, it was. I mean,
they're trying not to get the old red ass.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think too, Dave, like, to be honest, like I'm sure they prepared well, had a great week, but when you're a 38-point favorite and everybody's telling you how
Well, and you're looking ahead, and
horrendous,
there's an off week right in front of
and
you.
then there's
too.
Red River. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's
It's like that final exam in high school or something, like in my photography class. It's like, dude, I mean, school's about to be out, man. I could give a crap about my photography exam here. Again, not put Mississippi State to that standpoint, but again, no, you're right. Cole's right too. I mean, it was Arch Manning too. He's a quarterback they're not going to have. I mean, they're going to be playing Quinn against Oklahoma and Georgia, so it's tough to really garner much from it.
Dave, in closing, I'll ask you the same question that I asked Cole. Should Alabama be the new number one team in college football?
Off resume, I would say yes, because they have the best win in college football. And it's wild to say. I think Georgia probably has a top 3 to 4 win in college football right now. Probably a better win too with Kentucky. But I was talking about the Clemson one for Georgia and the Kentucky.
That Clemson win looks better by the week.
Yeah,
for sure. So, yeah, I would also though agree with you, Dave. I'll drop my power rankings tomorrow, which we're talking on Sunday. I'll drop it tomorrow. I mean, Bama's going to be one for me. I just, from what I saw from them, especially the way they were humming in the first half, and it's almost like the second half, Dave. Like, I don't, if they can learn from that, second half, I don't think it's a huge deal. But they, like you mentioned, this is not the Pac-12 anymore. Like, you can't just sit on your hands and go ultra conservative and. A team like
fair, not every team adjusts like Georgia does.
Right.
You're going to run on the edge. They're going to go be like, all right, well, we're going to take that away. Can you do something else?
Yeah, exactly. So,
you dribble your left hand.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, Dave, what a great weekend of college football, man. Expect the unexpected. I will highlight this, by the way, because I'm just going to embrace it. Dave, my gambling picks went 0-6. And you know what's weird though?
Gambling's harder than ever.
I swear something was in the air because my guy Brad Crawford, shout out to Brad, 24/7 Sports, he went 0-7. I was like, this was like one of the hardest gambling weekends. This was probably the hardest gambling weekend of the season.
Ole Miss screwed me over from another undefeated week in the.
I rode both wagons in Ole Miss and Texas, and I was wrong on both. Took the under in OU Auburn, wrong on that one. Took Georgia. -2.5. That was a silly pick in hindsight. Dude, you know what's funny, Dave? From the gambling perspective, I'm sitting in there, even when Georgia took the lead, and then they didn't get the 2-point conversion, I'm like, this is Vegas, man. Like, this is such Vegas. Yeah. Like, they're going to win by 1, and I'm going to lose the bet anyways. So, anyways, Dave, we'll get out of here. Appreciate Cole Thompson. Obviously, he had to run. He covers the Texans. We appreciate his time. We'll go ahead and wrap up. Dave, any final thoughts, man? Again, what an incredible weekend. And for those that don't know, we'll drop it later today. We will be heading to the land of Woo Pig Suey next weekend to watch the Arkansas Razorbacks and Tennessee Volunteers. The loss in the Southwest Classic, Dave, could not deter me enough. I'm heading down to Fayetteville to hang with the Hogs.
Heading to the Ozarks. No, I just think college football is so week to week now, man. I think these teams don't even know each other from a standpoint. I think I went – well, I'd have to go with 4, maybe 3-6, 4-5 this week out of my 9 games. Ole Miss on the straight up pick'ems was the only game I lost, but hell, everybody I think lost that game. But no, overall, you got 2 big ones next week for sure. You got Missouri at A&M, springboard game, I think, for both those teams. Then you got, Ole Miss cannot afford. Must win for Ole Miss at Old Willie B next week. And I think South Carolina right now on Sunday morning has a big matchup advantage with their defensive line against a really banged up Ole Miss offensive line. How does Charlie Weiss Jr., how does Lane Kiffin scheme up some stuff to go get a win? You have to have that. Ole Miss fans are probably not thinking it's a must win in early October.
Yeah, week 6 is going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure it's going to be another weekend, in the SEC that delivers. Make sure you stay tuned to SEC Unfiltered, guys. We'll start dropping our previews early tomorrow for all of these games, breaking down everything, predicting all that good stuff. Y'all know the drill at this point. Dave, appreciate you taking the time. I want to say thank you again to Cole Thompson as well. I'm Chris Phillips. Again, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast where you get those. All your social media platforms, of course, we're at SEC Unfiltered. Then, of course, our website, secunfiltered.com. I appreciate each and every single one of you tuning into Sunday FUNDAY like y'all do every week. We do this every single week, so make sure you turn on those notifications. You jump on with us. shoot the shit, talk a little ball. We love to do so. Again, thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will talk to you all on the other side.